like to call the Monessen City Council work session on November 2nd, 2020 to order. Roll call, please.
Councilman Bricker? Here. Councilman Orchakowski? Here. Councilman Coles? Here. Councilman Thomas?
Here.
Matt Sherrill?
Here, please rise for the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to open the floor for public comment on agenda items only. All right, seeing as there, yep.
I'm just looking at it real quick.
Okay.
I had a important question. Okay, this number G. Get up there and say what you mean.
Yes, letter G.
Yeah, letter G. What do you mean you're implementing a program to charge user fees?
So that is for, I don't remember if you were here when Heppel was talking about this, but it's basically for like for example, when the fire department went down at Eastgate on Monongahela Street, that traffic light was struck. And they were down there for like an extensive amount of time with their equipment doing traffic control. That's to try to recoup fees for like incidents like that. So like they're not going to charge you if your house catches on fire. So.
Okay, so no charges for like them being out on the intersection, but.
Well, that's like if there's a major accident. Am I explaining that correctly?
No.
No.
Not really.
I didn't think I was.
Depending on how this is structured, normally what happens is we're setting fees that we would charge the insurance companies. It's third-party billing rate.
So it's not for the residents?
It should not go to the residents.
Okay. Because I was afraid that
Well, don't get in any accidents, Ernie, we won't have to charge you.
I never caused a major traffic jam.
Have you caused any accidents?
Yeah.
Better knock on wood.
But that's,
They were major.
a lot of insurance companies, Ernie, they have that built into their policies, but unless there's an ordinance in place, they don't pay it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's another way for the insurance companies that they can charge more for what they charge the people, and if they don't want to pay, they don't feel like paying the fire companies, they just don't pay it.
Just give you a for instance, the car hit a pole down at the east gate and knocked the pole down and everything. We just got a check in today for $6,700.
Yeah, I'll give it.
The State Farm.
Wow.
Okay, paid it because we followed up and filed charges.
That's
And
good.
they tried to give us $1,575.
I know you mentioned this before, then you threw it back at
We
me.
went back at them and said, hey, there's labor, there's bolts, there's concrete. You had traffic, we had tied up, so we got all the money for that.
Good. Okay, second question. What is all this exonerating taxes, city taxes?
So that is items
That's on the last page.
J and K, right? Someone is interested in those buildings, correct? Yeah. So they've gone through share sale and they haven't been sold, and they've gone through free and clear sale and they haven't been sold, and now they're in this unsold status and someone is interested in them. So that's why we would be exonerating taxes.
But what happens there is that when somebody leaves a building and it goes on for 3, 4, 5 years and somebody's interested, you have to get the taxes exonerated so you can speed it up so they can buy that property and rehab it.
Okay, so the procedure is, if I want to get this one building, I have to come to you to get it exonerated first?
If you're going to, just like with this fellow here, he's going to put $60,000 into a building. And if we waited to go through the judicial process, it might be another 3 years, then there's nothing left. The building's coming down. So we're trying to help somebody who has money to put up front help them get it so they could rebuild. Now, he's already rebuilt 2 buildings
In Monessen.
in Monessen.
Oh, yeah, who's
He's
that?
done the 2 on Schooner.
Josh Lindsay, excellent
No.
carpenter, excellent
Oh, he's a
carpenter.
carpenter.
Yeah, he did the pizza shop up on Schoonmaker and another one between First Street and Second Street.
Is
Or not in Second.
By the Ukrainian club.
he come to these meetings?
No,
He did.
he did in
He
the
was here
beginning.
2 meetings.
And, but he started putting money up, and that's what it takes. You put the money up, and
And you get it back on the tax roll.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, right now it's sitting there and all this money's owed on it, but we're not gonna ever collect it.
So the property is, the one on Donner is the pawn shop that's right here.
Oh, the farm shop.
Yeah, and then the one on Schoonmaker is the old Annie's Apparel was LaRose's beauty shop
On
next.
Sixth Street.
No, on Schoonmaker,
next to the cosmetology
Oh,
it
building.
has like a yellow front to it.
He feels he can do something with that. He knows, that's his
And that's one
profession.
of the last vacant buildings on the block, on that block. I think the only one left is the Slovak home.
If it doesn't, the redevelopment authority have the bunch?
Well, they do, but not on that block.
Oh.
I'm just saying, for that block, that's one of the last ones that's vacant.
All right, well, I'm trying to hear some good news here.
Well, you
A
can
little bit at a time, Mark.
take some work, yeah.
Chipping away. Thanks. Okay, we have a letter from the American Red Cross, and Tony, you don't have this letter because John couldn't find it, and it was actually in my office, so we'll make sure we get you a copy. But it's to elected officials from Tessie Dunmere Amaranto, the executive director of American Red Cross in Greensburg. And it's talking about, it says, the American Red Cross Greater Pennsylvania region changed some of the geographic boundaries we currently work within to deliver our services to the community. These changes are intended to help the Red Cross better align our people and resources to meet community needs and will not impact the number of communities we serve or the work we do each day to deliver our mission. As the executive director for the American Red Cross Chestnut Ridge chapter serving Westmoreland, Fayette, Indiana, and Armstrong counties, I look forward to working with you to better serve the residents and especially be there in time of need. And it talks about the Red Cross's history, and so it's just basically like an introduction and saying that they'll be there to help. And her contact information is at the bottom. Then, so moving on to item A, an honorary name, Musier Alley, to give 15 feet of alley located parallel to Alexander Avenue and Lookout Avenue from Lockview Street to its northern terminus, and installing a sign stating such. I was approached by, I think her name is Cheryl Musier. She lives on Lookout, and she asked what it would take for us to rename the alley because she thought that it didn't have a name, that it was an unnamed alley. And this alley goes from Sycamore to its northern terminus and runs, like I said, between Lookout and Alexander. And it turns out the solicitor did some research, and it actually does have a name. And it's had the name of Long, L-O-N-G, Alley, since that part of town was the borough of McMahon, which was founded around the same time as Monessen. So instead of, the solicitor recommended that we don't change the name since it was from the founding, basically, of like an original name, but we can give it an honorary name. Bishop Bass has Reed Avenue, it has that Brown Street sign. It's the same thing. There's one on 5th Street for A.N. Schuster. There's one on 6th, I think, for McDormand. So we've done this in the past, and I believe it would just take a motion and not a resolution or an ordinance or anything. And then we could get the sign. And I was just up there today as well, and there is no street sign for Long Alley either, so we will need to get street signs to put up there for Long Alley as well, so that people know that it's named. I don't know if you have anyone has any questions. This is his wife that's requesting this, and she said that he's a veteran and his family's lived up there since the 40s, and so she thought it would be nice to have this honor put up there, so. Yep. So the next thing, item B, articles of agreement by and between the City of Monessen, a municipal corporation organized and existing under the laws of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, having its principal place of business at 557 Donner Avenue, Monessen, Westmoreland County, Pennsylvania, 15062, hereinafter referred to as owner. WEC Inc., a corporation organized and existing under the laws of the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, with an office at 1370 Washington Pike, Suite 304, Bridgeville, Allegheny County, Pennsylvania, hereinafter referred to as engineer. Sewer Rehabilitation Project, Phase 4, 9th Street, Delaware Avenue, and Shawnee Park. So I'm assuming, John, that this is to get the process started for that phase?
Yes, this is the agreement between the two of us so that he gets paid by, through the Penvest.
Yeah.
Yeah, the agreement, this and the next one are required in order for your funding sources, and they're standard form agreements for these sorts of professional services. It lays out, what the city's obligation is for payment and what the engineer's obligation is to actually do the services that are required under it, including inspection work and design and build-out work. So,
does anyone have any questions on this? Item C, articles of agreement by and between the City of Monessen.
Same thing.
Yeah, so same thing, except this one is for the 2020 CDBG roadway rehabilitation project, Phase 1, the reconstruction of Euclid Drive from Grand Boulevard to Crest Drive. And I think we went back and forth on some email threads. Originally, a portion of McKee was on for paving for CDBG, but the gas company is going to be replacing a line. So obviously it's pointless for us to pave it and then have them tear it up again.
I have a little update on that.
Oh,
the gas line is going to be installed in the next month or so, and we're going to take, I forget what it is now, but we're going to pave every bit of the line that they've replaced. We're going to pave it because of the brick versus asphalt that we just
Well,
rise.
they're going to pave it.
Yeah, they're going to pave it, okay? So then we'll come back next year and finish the other half that they don't take the gas line in. So they just moved everything up.
Good. That's good. And that portion of McKee is the other brick portion, so it's like real wavy. And that goes to around 4th too?
It goes up to the viaduct.
Good. The next two resolutions go together. Resolution 21 of 2020, declaring the intent of the City of Monessen to follow the schedules and procedures for disposition of records as set forth in the Municipal Records Manual approved on December 16, 2008, as amended July 23, 2009, and March 28, 2019. And Resolution 22 of 2020, declaring the intent of the City of Monessen to dispose of certain municipal records in conformity with prior city resolutions and the Municipal Records Manual. There's old pay stubs in the back from the year 2000 to 2012 that we don't need anymore. You only have to keep them for 7 years. So we could free up some space and get rid of those records. So that's what this is all about.
So, and just an additional comment, you may wonder why there's two resolutions on that. The state law requires municipalities to pass a general resolution that adopts and confirms its intent to follow the state rules regarding it, and to put everybody on notice that there are rules with respect to destruction and disposition of municipal records. That's the purpose of the first one, just to adopt those guidelines and make sure everybody's aware that that's what we need to follow. And then the second one is the required resolution for the particular set of records that are going to be, in this case, destroyed. And you have to, this is the information that's required in any one of those resolutions to specifically identify those records, so it's on file with the city. So you'll see there the information that identifies those particular records.
And then if we have anything else that needs to be disposed of, we'll go through the same process.
Yes. And our city clerk, Cheryl Gordon, will be in charge of she has the manual that you sent through.
Yeah, good.
She will have that, and she'll control all the paperwork, so we'll get them moved.
And you guys may have already done a resolution previously adopting those guidelines, but since the manual was just updated in 2019, we just wanted to make sure we had a current resolution adopting the most recent version of that.
So the next one, item F, would be the first reading of ordinance number 14 of 2020, an ordinance of the City of Monessen, Westmoreland County, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, establishing certain rules and regulations regarding the prohibition of discrimination in housing, commercial property, employment, and public accommodations based upon race, color, religious creed, ancestry, age, sex, national origin, sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, genetic information, handicap or disability, use of a guide or support animal because the user is a handler or trainer of support or guide animals, providing for the creation of the City of Monessen Human Relations Commission, and providing for an effective date. And just a little bit up on this. So first, I think Monessen has a discrimination ordinance, but it was adopted in the 50s or maybe the 60s, and it only covers race. And then Pennsylvania law is also very vague, and it really only covers race and maybe gender.
There are a couple other.
Okay.
There.
So there's a lot of holes in it, and there's also holes on the federal level. So there are 60 municipalities so far in Pennsylvania, boroughs, townships, cities, all of different sizes, that have adopted basically the same ordinance. And it's to close those holes up until the federal government and the state government come in and do their jobs, basically. And this also creates a Human Relations Commission. It would be 9 members. We could adjust if you think that's too many people, we could adjust it. But it would be 9 members. And 5 of those members have to be from Monessen. 4 can be from elsewhere as long as they're involved in like social services or anything like that. And Tony emailed me this morning, and he was concerned that this would be a lot for the city to do since we're small compared to like Pittsburgh, for example. But I was looking at like the list of cities and towns and boroughs and whatnot, and they're all of different sizes. I think that the success of this would be determined by like if we could find solid people to be on the commission, and then I think I said this in the email that I sent you guys, that it's not reactive, it's proactive like the police board was, where that if something does happen, this is in place and there's like a mediation process with like court and stuff, but I feel like most situations, if not all, wouldn't get to that level. Like this board, we would want people to be on it that could, basically de-escalate the situation and kind of like ease tensions. So it could help with any kind of social tensions that could exist in the city, whether it's race or disability or anything like that. So there are, I think on our side of the state, Erie County, because counties and municipalities can adopt something like this, so Erie County, Allegheny County have both adopted this, and then the city of Pittsburgh, Mount Lebanon Township, I think there's one more on this side of the state, and then the rest of them are scattered like through central PA, going out west. So that's basically it for this. I don't know if you guys had a chance to look at it. It's quite long. This one I think was, I want to say I based it off of York and Lancaster, but pretty much in my research they're all the same. They have the same language. So I don't know. I think it would be good to update what we have and try to, protect the citizens that we have until the state hopefully kicks in and fixes it and updates theirs. So I don't know if anyone had any questions.
Matt, under section 9, Human Relations Commission established powers and duties. They state quite a few things in there. But how broad does this go? Could you explain and say how broad it goes in protection of the Human Relations Commission? Would you say race? You know, just how broad does it go? Is there something mentioned in here that I don't see?
Yeah, it's in the header really, on the first page, and I'll read it again. It's race, color, religious creed, ancestry, age, sex, national origin, sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, genetic information, handicap or disability, use of a guide or support animal because the user is a handler or trainer of support or guide animals, and then it goes on to say
Okay.
provide for
I understand. I
commission.
just
Yeah.
wanted to
And-
make sure.
And like I said, if you think that 9 people is too many, we can, as long as it's on an uneven number, we can make it less, whether it's 5 or 7. The draft from, or the example I used from York had 11, and I thought like 11 is entirely too many for us. But then in here, I think it says, yeah, 5 would be a majority from Monessen. Where is that in here? Oh, Gil, this kind of touches, if you look at Section 9, Part 2, under D, it'll list like the duties and like what it covers with disabilities and everything that I just read. And they could recommend to council like various policies, but really like, essentially I think in Monessen specifically, it would just be to really like keep tensions down and kind of like resolve any situations in the community before they would escalate into something that's out of hand.
Hey, man, I have a couple questions.
We'll have to take them at the end.
Okay, well, Pittsburgh has accepted this, right?
Yeah, well, I think Pittsburgh did theirs like 15 years ago. I don't know when the dates were for adoption for the other ones. I know a couple out east were just adopted last year and probably some this year as well. But all the dates are different. The earliest ones are from the early or the late 90s, and then they're like all spread out after that.
So Tim, you would be there to like direct them on this, because there's a lot of legal stuff that
There
goes
is,
along
there
with that.
is.
That's what I mean,
And
so.
it creates an independent board. I mean, not independent, it's an independent commission. And you can see in there, there's one section where it has the power to appoint an attorney
Okay.
to guide them through that process. Now, I mean, that is something for you guys to consider. I mean, if they're going to actually use those powers, you're gonna wanna provide them with a budget, because there is a lot of work that's involved if it's going to be used to that extent.
And that's all in here too, and like I said, we can adjust it if you think that's like too much. I put, where is that in here?
What kind of budget are we talking about?
You could run into some court costs, really, if they take a case and it has to go really far, that could be expensive at our expense.
Could we put a restriction that like they can't take a case unless we know? Because they'd be an independent commission.
An independent
But-
commission that can run up the bills on who?
Well,
On us?
they can also like get their own money. I think that that's also in here.
Well, they can, yeah. If there's a funding source, a few years ago, there were some organizations that were providing some grant funding for human relations commissions. I'm not aware currently, I haven't followed it for a while. If there's grant funding that's still available to get those up and running. But,
I can look.
you know, there were some that were providing some funding. Yeah, that's because there is a lot, you know, you guys will want to take a close look at it. You know, there is a lot of people wanting to use it to the, you know, full extent of what's in here. There's some legal procedures that have to be followed that are pretty time intensive, and that would be asking a lot of, you know, lay people who don't have necessarily a legal background.
That's what I.
And that would, like I said, I mean, one, to find, you know, 9 qualified people could be a bit of a challenge. I know it's a challenge in other communities. And then, 9 qualified people that would also feel comfortable fulfilling some of those legal requirements could be a little bit of more of a challenge. So that may be something that you'd want to look at to potentially address possibly. Yeah, I mean, there's oftentimes with these human relations ordinances, there's a dichotomy in how they're structured. One, some municipalities take the approach that, hey, they're more investigatory and educational. So, they will investigate when complaints come in, just generally in the community, as opposed to specific instances that are, legal issues.
Right.
And, they'll try and educate, and they'll, bring issues to light, and they'll do investigatory work on behalf of the municipality.
So maybe something like that might be.
That's
better.
one approach that some municipalities take, and other ones do have a much more complex, legal approach that, it's actually specific aggrieved parties have an opportunity to have their concerns addressed through this, very specific process. Now, once again, both approaches have their merits, and both approaches have disadvantages too. One's costly, one's less costly, one's more complicated. It's a matter of finding and figuring out which one, if you're looking at doing an ordinance like this, which approach best suits your community.
So let's say hypothetically, the ordinance was just an investigatory, educational, like the less involved, and let's say someone had an issue, a complaint, and they go to the commission, and obviously the commission can't go through the legal process, but if they do the investigation, could they then say, okay, your issue is race-related, we'll refer you to the NAACP and give them the information that we
So the
found.
problem is they wouldn't have any specific investigatory power in a specific instance, because then they would be required to follow these legal procedures. Because if they were going to draw a conclusion to protect themselves, they would want to make sure that they're following these same requirements that are, basically required under the local agency law, which pulls that anyway. So if you're having them investigate specific instances of
So it's
discriminatory
just like,
action,
so instead, like what you're saying is, it's like, okay, we're going to investigate racial issues in Monessen, like broadly, like that's something.
or
that
like
we do.
housing discrimination issues in Monessen, or employment discrimination against religious minorities, or whatever. They're going to investigate that specific issue, and then they can conduct studies and take anecdotal evidence and help conclusions that then maybe something to help educate the public about what their responsibilities are. Well, that's one approach.
Yeah, I like that too.
And I think we'd be safer if we went with educational, as far as that, all the different areas.
Yeah.
That education standpoint, because when you get into the legal stuff, you almost gotta have, I think you gotta have people who have a legal background if we wanna look into the legal side of things.
Right,
You have
like,
to have
yeah.
some lawyers on your thing and things like that, so it's just something. I think it's good, but I think maybe education just to start with
Yeah.
until we look more into it.
No, I agree. I wasn't aware that was,
Yeah.
that option was out there, so I like that too. And I think it would help the city still,
Oh, yeah.
and it wouldn't rack up a bill for us and provide information for the public. And do you think 9 people is too many?
I think 9's too many. If you're just gonna make it educational and things
Maybe
like
like
that.
7 or 5 or 7?
At least, yeah, I would say at least 5,
I'd go
that's
with
good.
5.
Yeah, I don't think you need a
Most
whole
of our
lot.
other boards are 5.
Yeah, I think 5's good.
Yeah, 5 is probably a good number. I mean, because Monessen is an active community, and it's an involved community. But I mean, even right now, there's a lot of open positions
Right.
that you're having a little bit of trouble filling.
those
So
ones.
if that's any indicator, it could be tough to get 7.
And I mean, it could always be, like, if it becomes really successful, it could always be
Yeah.
amended or whatever. Okay. Item G, we touched on this a little bit earlier. First reading of ordinance 15 of 2020, an ordinance of the city of Monessen, Westmoreland County, Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, establishing and implementing a program to charge user fees for the deployment of certain public safety services rendered by the Monessen Bureau of Fire and Monessen Fire Department Companies 81-1 and 81-2 for the city of Monessen, and providing for an effective date. Do we have any other comments on that? I think Don touched on that pretty well at the beginning.
Yeah, basically, we're just looking to codify it so that if we do send the bill to the insurance companies, we have an ordinance to back it up.
Yep.
Because what happens a lot of times is the insurance companies will pay if there is an ordinance, and if there's not an ordinance, they just ignore it.
Yeah.
That's why we want to do this.
So we ought to send a copy of the ordinance with the bill.
Oh, we
I
will.
would, yep.
Okay.
And I'm actually waiting, we're running this past both of the companies, fire departments, to see if they have any tweaks or whatever that they'd like to see.
You said most of this is already built into people's insurance?
Yeah, if, the thing is, if it's not in the insurance, we're not gonna get in it.
That's okay.
But it's almost,
But it is in some.
it's built into almost all insurance.
Okay, that's what, okay.
They just don't pay unless you force them
Unless
to
you
pay.
ask for it or force them, okay.
Yeah, it's like what they try to do with the lights pole. And they wanted to give the city $1,500 instead of
6,700.
$6,700, and it actually costs to replace it. I mean, they're in there and they're looking at their bottom line as far as,
I think it's good. If you can get it, get it.
Couldn't hurt.
How much does it cost to take a truck out to go to a fire? That's, I think,
if you break it down, it's, if you break it down in time, money, and effort, what we're asking for doesn't really cover the cost. I mean, you're taking out a unit on a call that costs $250,000. Okay, the equipment that you're running out the door with just the turnout gear and stuff, you're looking at $7,000 per individual. So to break it down into per call basis is somewhat difficult. I probably could do it, but it would be a project where I'd have to take some statistics and stuff for the last 20 years. Because you have to break it down by the number of calls, number of man hours, amount of training. But, you know, just running any kind of piece of equipment, you're looking at $150, $250 an hour just to run that piece of equipment.
that's why we should buy it.
Yep.
It's out there.
Yeah, another municipality I work with just did a study about what it costs. So, and for one typical call where they dedicated 2 pieces of fire apparatuses, the cost of the city was basically $2,000 for that one call with 2 pieces of equipment. So, you know, it's not unreasonable what you're looking to recoup, you know, from some of these instances. So.
Next, item H. A request has been made to adjust the traffic flow north to one-way on Oak Street between Terrace Avenue and Elm Street. 2 signs would need to be installed: do not enter at Elm for Oak Street, and do not enter at Oak Street from Stratton. So disclosure, this is my neighborhood. One of my neighbors sent us a letter about this, and for those of you that aren't familiar, Oak comes up behind the city garage, and the farther up it goes, the narrower it gets, to the point that when you're going up towards Elm, 1 car can only fit. So if you're coming up, you have to hope that the car coming down moves out of the way, or vice versa. My neighbor's house is literally right up against the road. Her driveway is basically the road. And then all those other streets around there are very narrow. So this would, Oak would be the same 2-way to Terrace, and then 1-way going up to Elm, which is the narrow portion, where there's literally nowhere for anyone to go, going up or down. And then it would make Strack 1-way so that they have an exit off of that 1-way. My neighbor that sent this request in is going to go around and petition, get petition signatures from the residents that this would affect to gauge what their interest level is. For me, living there, I feel like most, if not all of them, would probably be like, yeah, this makes absolute sense. In the 80s, the city wanted to widen the road, but the property owners refused there was a lot of pushback. They wanted to widen it from Elm all the way down to the city garage. And there was pushback from property owners to do that, so now we're left with this. So, biased opinion, I think that it would make sense, but I'll work with my neighbor to see what kind of feedback the residents up there give us. And then we were talking this morning via email about needing to do a traffic study as
I'm
well.
not sure, just check with Tony.
Mhm.
You may have to, I'm not sure, you may have to.
Yeah.
I thought you did, because I know we had to do it.
Yeah.
And then it has to be adopted by ordinance.
Right, right.
As far as the first responders, there is no problem as long as they're coming off of Kearney Boulevard, going up the hill. The Public Works, no problem, because they plow uphill, so that's no problem. So you really don't have any change getting your responders in. Actually, it helps them the last portion where it's narrow.
That's true.
Only a truck would be able to fit one west anyway.
So we'll gather more information and see where that goes. Okay, item I, Doreen and Darlene, daughters of Matthew Canistrell, are donating 2 properties to the city of Monessen. Tax map number 2002080382 and tax map 2002080384. Vacant properties located on Moffett Street across from Shawnee Park and along Soccerfield Road. The request is being made to exonerate the taxes owed to the city of Monessen in the amount of $140.10.
This was offered 2 years ago, and nobody took it under. They had all the taxes paid up, and so we just got the paperwork now, and they just have 1 year left on there. This property was given to them in 1975 by the city of Monessen, and now they're turning it back to the city.
They what?
They bought it. And this is just money that the city owes itself, so.
Yeah, right.
I mean, there's no loss on this at all because it's city property.
not gonna pay
so,
ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, we're not, so, it just cleans up the record, so to speak, with the tax on this particular property.
Item J, tax map number 2002030023, property located at 541 Donner Avenue that's in unsold status. Request to exonerate $8,000 of city taxes. And so that's, as I mentioned, the pawn shop right over here. And then the same thing for tax map number 2002030105, property located at 361 Schoonmaker Avenue in unsold status, and a request to exonerate $6,000 of city taxes, and that's the one next to the cosmetology building. So we also touched on that a little bit earlier. Is there any more on that?
And the reason why we're exonerating is what we said before, is that these buildings have been sitting now for a few years, and we have a contractor who wants to rehabilitate them. If we wait for it to go through the process of the county, by the time he gets to it, we may not have a roof. So we get the taxes out of the way, get him to build it, invest money, and put it back on the tax rolls for somebody who will be getting taxes. I also wanted to say, at the same time I wrote this letter to the council, I also sent a letter to the school district to have them exonerate the taxes. And then when I get both letters back after our meeting, I will send it to the county for next month to be exonerated. Then what will happen is the owner, potential owner, will go in and negotiate with the county to buy the property at that time.
And then item L, we have an application for...
Can we go back to those two? So do we know what the status of those 2 properties is with the county currently? Like which sales it's currently?
Judicial, they're on the unsold status right now.
Okay, so they went through the upset sale, nobody purchased them, both properties?
Yep,
Did they go through the free and clear sale and nobody purchased them?
I believe so.
I think that they went through that sale. The next sale would be a judicial sale, is what they were going to do.
So they haven't gone through the free and clear sale, because that's the next one.
Yeah.
So the free and clear sale and the judicial sale are the same thing?
Oh,
There's
okay.
two names for the same thing. The statute calls it the judicial sale. Everybody else knows it as the free and clear sale, because that's the nice thing about that sale.
The problem to the judicial sale is they pick and put, we'll say 50 properties from all over the county. And your properties, unless you call them to let them know that you have a potential buyer that will do something, they don't get on that sale. And if they wait, then you never end up with the property.
So we think that it's gonna go up for judicial sale, the free and clear sale, judicial sale, those properties.
Yes, but I think what can happen, you could go in and privately buy it from the county, just like Kareem done, same thing what he did. He went in and offered a price, and they accepted, and they'll sell it.
The properties that Mr. Strawn had gotten, were those on, I think those may have been on the repository list.
Those last two are, yeah.
So until it goes through the judicial sale and the free and clear sale, you can't just directly go to the county and acquire the properties, because they have to be subjected to the sale under the real estate tax sale law. So he would have to either get them from the current owner, or they would have to be exposed for the free and clear sale / judicial sale, and he would have to be the highest bidder. What you may want to, how you may want to structure it, because what I won't want to see is, so you're exonerating the taxes, but there's no guarantee that this guy is going to end up with, and he may be, a great guy to get him and develop the properties, but there's no guarantee that he's actually going to end up with the properties. So what you may want to approve is a developer's agreement that says, once conditions X, Y, and Z are fulfilled, you acquire the property. You've committed and spent at least X number of dollars for the property, whatever, that the city will then exonerate the taxes. That's another approach to at least, because right now you're just exonerating the taxes completely, and there's no guarantees that he'll end up with the property. If he doesn't end up with the property, you've exonerated your taxes regardless of what happens with the property at that point. So that may be, another approach that you may want to think about. Because the other thing I'm concerned about is I don't want you to create a precedent, where you're doing that for this situation, but what if somebody else comes along then and asks you to do the same thing, but you don't know, and you're not as comfortable with that person's work? I mean, how do you make that sort of distinction at that point, without opening up yourselves to some sort of liability? So that's why, the developer agreements are sometimes a good approach, because it requires people to, confirm that they've put up a certain amount of effort, put up a certain amount of commitment to the property before they, get their exoneration on the back end. So, that's something for you guys to consider. Once again, there's nothing that, stops you from doing this, but it's just I think there's a lot that you may want to consider. My comments.
So item L, we have an application for prisoner watch submitted by Julian Napier. I don't know how to say his last name correctly. Napier. So all of that information is also on his resume and application that you could all look at. Also, I'll mention, I got an email from Chief Smith this afternoon. I forwarded it to John, but I'll send it to everyone else as well. We had, I believe, 4 people that passed the written portion of the civil service test, and on November 5th, they are going to take the physical test. So Jim will update us when that's done. So, and that's all I have. I'd like to open the floor for public comment.
Can I talk?
Yeah.
I live at 230 Knox Avenue, Monessen. I lived there since 2002. Where I live up there, in that building, across the street from my house,
Can you state your name just for the recording?
John Yankulitz, Yucca. Up here across from my house, there's the house across the street, the next empty house, and the next empty house, Lois. You know what I'm talking about?
I'm trying to know, you said 230 Knox.
The building I live in, the big white building across from Del Rosa's, my uncle owns,
Okay, I know
that building. Across from me, that house that Samara used to own and McCullough's mother owned,
Yes. Oh, on the bend.
on the bend there. Listen, a couple weeks ago, me and Brian Thorpe, we took it in our own hands because we didn't want to see nobody wreck her up there or nothing. I lived here since 2002, January 2002, so I took it in my hands, me and Brian Thorpe, and I cleaned everything up over here, okay? What I did, I put it all down at Hillside because I didn't know where else to put it, so it's clean up there now. And I told all them kids, I said, listen, if I catch any of you kids up here, I said, listen, there's cameras everywhere. You guys will get a $300 fine. Am I going to come up here every day and clean up after you guys? I said, I know where you guys live. I said, listen, I'll come find you guys.
Are, cause I know the one on the, where McCullough lived, it has a big front porch. Are the windows broken? Like, is the door open, anything like that?
Listen, the doors ain't never open. You know why? 'Cause I shut them on lock them. And screw them shut so they goes in. Because you know why? Me and Brian don't want to go find the body at 3:34 in the morning. You know what? My problem is with yuck, I stay up all night and I dread stuff. Like I told Donnie and all these guys here and Lois, if I gotta go find somebody at 3:34 in the morning in a bando house, I'm calling the police because I'm not taking it in my own hands.
Should we, I feel like.
Listen, the one that Tamara owns, that brick house across from me, that brick house,
Yeah.
the alley, the paper alley's here, okay? It goes down the back way.
Beige, right? It's beige and green.
No, it's brown.
Okay, is that little one?
The little brick house.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
There's no upstairs to it.
Right.
There's a living room, a bedroom.
There's that one, then the gray one, then McCullough's, right?
Yeah, listen, but let me finish. There's the one it's Tamara owns, the one McCullough's grandmother owns, the one McCullough owns, that garage, all the way to the Viaduct Bar almost. It's like a jungle up there.
Yeah.
So me and Brian last week, I got weed whackers and I got these locks and I cut everything down. I got to the point where I couldn't take no more over there. And Brian, he says, Jacques, you're out of your mind. I said, listen, I'm not out of my mind. I said, listen, I lived up on this block since 2002 to 2020. I said, listen, I don't want nobody to wreck up here. And Mosier said he put them cameras up there, and I keep an eye on everything up there. Yuck's one of them night owls. I stay up all night, but I still function. As long as I got Pepsi with me, and that's Donnie, I can stay on the track game. Lois, I told you, whatever you need me help you do, I'll help you. But I don't want to see nobody get killed up there, because you know why? I feel bad. Because you know why? Like I told Jim and Mickens and Uhas and Greg and Thompson, if I got to go in the house and get somebody's kid, it's going to be paid and run to me for me to go get somebody's kid. Because I've been with Donnie long enough in the fire company, and I know the CPR levels, but I don't want to go in a bando house and get somebody's kid, because like if I got to call Donnie and them guys, it's going to be hard for me to deal with, because I went through it 2 months ago when I buried my dad, and I can't go that route.
Would it be good? Would it be helpful if we had the windows boarded up at least on the lower levels?
Whatever you guys do, because I got to the point myself. I took screwdrivers and drill bits and screws, and I screwed all them doors closed. And if I see something open, my two neighbor girls live underneath me. I got a neighbor girl, Jody and Tracy. They got cameras all the way around their building, and they call me hours and they can tell me something's going on.
I just sent.
Then the guy that owns the pizza shop, he calls me too and tells me.
I just sent all the properties that you're talking about on that bend to the code officer to cite the people, because I think McCullough's live in Charleroi.
Yeah, listen, can I say something else to you? A couple of days ago, McCullough's grandmother's house over there, the door was open.
The gray one. That's the gray one, right?
The one on the corner where the garage is.
Okay, yeah.
I called Mickens and Jim and Thompson and Reba and Uhas and Greg. They come up, they went in the house, there were people sleeping in their squatters. It's been an ongoing thing up there with this place, on the corner of McCullough's. But the other one next door to McCullough's, nobody got bothered that house. That's stray cats. The one that Tamara owns on the corner next door to McCullough's grandmother's 525, that's 527 Ross Straver. That one's Tamara owns. That one, there's nobody bothers that one. But
it's just the corner.
That's the corner. The one is Tamara owns, all the windows are broke out. That place is a whole jungle. And you can't get to the back way of the alley of 3rd Street. It's all growed in. So if there's ever something down that power line pole, the power company ain't never gonna get down there. I don't think that light's down there no more, is it?
I don't think so.
You know what I'm talking about?
At the bottom of the alley, or
the alley from if you go down from Ross Favor, is there a street light down there?
There was. I don't know if there still is or not.
Is there a street light and a transformer down there?
I'm not sure, I'd have to look.
It's all grown in, so whoever goes down there, I feel sorry for them. So from where Stamera's house is all the way to Old Man Harder's house, and that 511 Ross Shaver, nobody owns that one no more. Then the next lot, I think Robbie owns that one, that empty lot. Then the next house Robbie owns, Robbie Sonosky owns that one. Then the house where JoJo Heath's mother lives, Robbie owns that one. Then the next house, next to Valagor, nobody owns that place.
That's that yellow one, right?
Yeah, that place, that's all grown in. Then where the Valak Bar is, whoever owns that place, you can't even get to that back hillside behind Valak Bar.
Someone just bought it
Okay.
recently, and I don't know who bought it. I think they probably are just gonna use it as a tax write-off.
Here's my question, Matt. Here's my question, Lois. If these guys ever gotta get behind there for a fire call at nighttime, there's no way they're gonna get back there. There's no access to it. You gotta go down the other side where Valak Bar is, down them back steps, you know what I'm talking about, Donnie? Down them back steps, and you gotta walk that whole hillside back there to get in one of them bandos. That's how bad it is. And me, in my time and my speed, I'm not gonna take that big job on by myself. That's too much for me to knock over.
Well, now would be the time to try to get them down, because, you know, everything will die.
But listen, let me say something to you now, Matt. There's a lot of poison ivy back there. I mean, listen, I'm not getting poison ivy.
No. And you don't know,
I don't know what's back there.
back
Listen, listen, you know what another thing is, Lois? You know where the other side of the Valak Bar is? The wall, Buzzy owns that on the other side of the wall going back down 3rd Street? A couple of days ago, me and Tony Evans, we walked up that hillside from 3rd Street, okay? Hey, guess what was up on that hillside, Lois? 15 pedal bikes from kids. That's why the parents get disgusted because they ain't got no bikes.
They leave them wherever they're playing. They don't go.
Lois, they don't care. It's like a car, like they leave out on 270, they just leave and go buy another one.
You see,
So
Who knows what's behind those
Is there
houses?
something like we could do for that? To like board them windows up so nobody like goes in them? Especially that one by Valak Bar. It's wide open.
The yellow one.
That one where Angela's grandmother used to live. Somebody been using that place as a garbage dump. You guys know that about that?
No, but I'm not surprised.
That one's a garbage dump. Then the 525 where McCullough's grandmother used to own is full of garbage. Plus that garage and that other building next door to it.
The brick one.
Then the building that Anthony Cruz owns is somebody been using as a garbage dump.
And then the pink house has a hole in the roof.
Yeah, some lady in Bell Vernon used to own it. She died.
She still owns it.
Yeah, but the next house where Harder used to live, some squatters been living in there. The cops had to take him out of there. Believe me, there people up here call me all the time and tell me, listen, I'm a 24-hour person. I can stay focused. As long as I got caffeine, Pepsi with me, I'm fine with it.
Well, first, thank you for cleaning that up. Don't risk your life trying to, get that stuff taken care of.
But where I live
we
up
should
here,
board that up.
where I live, on that bend at Ross Shaver, when you come up from the Valak Bridge, you can't even see that bend no more. That's how bad it was.
Right. And I think,
Question, Matt.
yeah.
Like hillsides and areas like that, I think won't the Cleanways bring a dumpster if we can get a crew from Monessen to help them? Won't they bring a group of people and if they have a group of people to help do like maybe.
I don't know, but it's
Them
certainly
vines are
worth
crazy
asking.
up
Yeah,
there. They're like taking over
like
them
the
bandos.
Cleanways will go to the Rock River Trail, the groups of people.
Yeah.
I think if you say we got 20 people that'll help, I think they'll bring the bigs
Listen,
and they'll bring a group
here's
of
the
people.
thing. If you
to
guys
help.
get a dumpster, listen, I'll get Brian Thorpe to help me because listen, Brian, that's my go-getter. I'll get him to do anything I got to do with
They
Brian.
will bring the
Maybe-
roll-offs and donate them free if you have people to do it.
So, it might be too late in this
Yeah,
year
now,
to do
but
it
I
now,
mean, they
but
will.
we can plan something like over the winter and
Yeah,
try
they
to
will
make
bring-
that
yeah,
one of
they'll
the
bring
areas,
their
because there's
roll-offs.
probably all kind of garbage.
You know what? I love this town. You know what? I hate to see anything happen in this place because you know what? I'll go nuts with this place. Like I told Donnie and Lois tonight and everybody here, I could do so much, but you know what? After a while, at 40 years old, 275 pounds, like I told Donnie and Ike and Lois, I only can put a crew together so many times.
Yeah.
And listen, me and Brian, we do enough up there. Then the new cops come out, what are you guys doing? I said, listen, you want to help? I'll get you a weed whacker and
Because
simple glue.
they don't know you, so they don't know what you're doing.
Who don't know me?
Well, I mean the new
Listen, I've been here since 2002 at Knox Avenue. Like
Now
I
they
told
know
Ike,
you.
if nobody knows me, then listen, I'll give them the tools to work.
Well,
Listen, I love to work.
We should get those windows boarded up for
Something.
starters, so that people aren't going in there.
Because that 520, that 525 is in the floor over there. You can see the floor in it, and the roof's gonna be in it, and that one down by Volok Park, I wouldn't trust
I
that
don't know
place
how
either.
I don't know how that one's still standing, honestly. The yellow one by the.
But I think the empty lot, they said somebody, like Drew Kavinga used to, because when his mother rented off the house of Robbie, they said Drew bought the empty lot. But the lot ain't worth nothing. It's poison ivy.
Yeah, it's just
That whole block. It goes down the back way of 30. It goes to Tom Nafazio's daughter's house.
It's amazing how they built houses on that hillside too.
It's amazing how they build houses on the other side of 3rd Street by the higher house.
Yeah, yeah,
That whole hill, all them houses, all the way to 17th Street was houses.
yeah. Well, I think we should try to get those boarded up as soon as possible for starters. Thank you for cleaning that. But please don't risk your life like going around trying to do something.
careful,
You know,
yeah.
if you see something, call the police, you know, or whatever the case may be.
I'll tell you where there's another bando and you probably don't know about it. I know about it. You know about it. That one up on Chestnut, it's just in the back up there.
Oh,
What's his name lived there, Lois?
Where?
Donald Payne lived in that house.
Which house?
It's right down from the 505 Chestnut. It's
You know
back in there.
more than I know.
It's off.
What street is it? Like what?
It's on Chestnut. It sits off the back hillside of Albert's Drive. You go in here and there's a
I
house
think
there.
I know.
The house is way back in there. It's a bando
It's back in
too.
the corner, it's back
Oh.
off of the road.
Yeah,
I know where you mean, but I didn't know there was a house back there.
North Monessen.
No, Martinez owns the next one down.
There's another one back.
Yeah, it's back in there. Because there's an empty lot here and there's a house way back in there. Donald Payne used to live in there. A black dude, Donald Payne and
I
his
remember
girl.
it now.
That house been there for a long time.
Well, so, you know, Lois would know this. Last year, the county did the blight map. So there's a link for it.
Okay.
It's not an easy link, but so I know I've been saying this, but we're waiting on PA Connect to switch the domain. So the website is done.
Can I ask
That
another
link will be
question?
on there. Yes.
How about the one that James Carter owns on 6th Street?
That one isn't that one on our list?
Yeah, it's on the
Demolished?
fire one?
With the front half of it.
Yeah, that should have been tore down a long time ago.
Yeah.
It's on the next one.
Okay.
Yeah, that one's on the list to come down. So.
Is there a lot of them need tore down?
Like 500
Listen,
of them.
whatever ones you guys need cleaned up around,
Do you need-
listen, Lois, you call me, you got my number, you call me and listen, I'll give Brian, listen, we'll go do what you gotta tell us.
I think we have one more, after Carter's house, I think we have one more firehouse on Summit. The one down from the school.
I know what you're talking about.
Closer, going towards Chestnut, on
Okay.
that same side of the street. as
That
the
one's
school.
still standing.
Yeah, yeah. And then the house next to it, I don't know if anyone lives in it, but if you look at the side of it, the siding was all
Hey Lois,
melted.
how about 409 Motherall?
409.
You know what I'm talking about? Ronald Smith lived in the next house, and 409 Motherall's the next house. That place needs to go too. It's a death trap.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Listen, I study all night about these places here in Monessen. Listen, when you guys are home 24 hours sleeping, ask Donnie and
Well,
Lois.
I'm a night owl too, maybe not as much as you, but
Hey Donnie, tell him. Listen, you see this bottle right here? That's my best friend, old Pepsi Cash Green. That's what keeps me all night. Donnie sees me all night when we're on fire calls. I show up, I help him clean up. We all go home happily ever after, right, Donnie?
absolutely.
I'm sure,
Listen, I'm a go-getter. I'll help anybody in this city. As long as you help me, I'll help you.
I'm sure that if we put something together, you'll help us.
Definitely.
Hey,
Help
whatever
us
I
find-
can do.
Help us
Because
recruit
listen,
some
I ain't
people.
going nowhere. I'm here like the rest of your generation.
For the hall.
Like Donnie, you ask Donnie. When you need help with his house, you call me, I go help you. Then he want to pay me. I said, listen, go buy me some food, hamburgers and Pepsi. I want money.
Well, see, it's perfect. We
I
could,
work
Listen,
for
the more
free.
money I have, the more money I get in trouble with.
we could
Toys.
clean the hillside and have pizza afterward.
Listen, you give me all the weed killer, I'll kill everything. Weed killer's my best friend. So Lois, you get that stuff
We got
together,
you.
you let me know, you call me, whatever.
Yeah,
You
Matt, we can.
let
we
me
can
know,
talk to
I'll
them
get on the roll.
over
Yeah.
the
Be
winter,
careful
try to
with
get
that
our
weed,
first
though.
Oh, I know.
thing.
Be real
And
careful.
we'll get we'll get some plywood and get those boarded up.
Yeah.
I'd like to do that before the weather.
We can send the code guy up there and take a look at that stuff
Yeah.
too.
Especially that one next to Viaduct Board, that one makes me nervous.
Yeah.
Find out who
Then,
owns that stuff.
then here's another thing that aggravates me. Before somebody bought that Viaduct Board, okay, I saw people going in that side door, and I called the dude that owned the place, and he called the cops. So he come down, he screwed all the doors shut, now nobody's been in there. Because you know who used to live here first? Tasha Arnold lived there, her and her
Oh, I didn't
girlfriend.
know that.
And they run the electric up in the water and storage, and that guy went nuts. And he found out they had pit bulls upstairs, and he went crazy. Because they was living in the whole building. They wasn't supposed to. They was supposed to live upstairs, but they was sneaking in the bar park, they was sneaking in apartments downstairs, they was staying in the whole building, like they owned the place. So I called him, because he owns the building in Destac owns.
I thought, didn't that guy die? I thought he died.
He don't own it, some other guy owns it. The guy that owns Destac's building, down here,
Yeah,
on the top street,
yeah,
you know, BG's building, on the corner of 6th Street here,
yeah.
he owns that Viaduct Bar building.
Now.
Yeah, he owns
Oh,
it.
okay.
Some guy owns it. Some guy that's in real estate business.
Okay. Well, we'll get those boarded up for starters, and then we won't be able to do anything until spring with the weeds and the cleanup, but we should do that.
I'll tell you what, another thing that makes me nervous, that garage that McCollum's grandmother had, that garage in that little
I
building,
was just thinking
that needs tore down, because somebody's gonna get killed in there trying to go in there and play around.
Wasn't it leaning?
Yeah, the one little part facing the woods of 3rd Street, and that Tom DeFazio's daughters and Joyce, what's her name, Joyce Paynes, that building's in,
Yeah.
back there.
Well, I'm sure Todd sent citations to the owners too, because I just gave him the list a couple weeks ago, and clearly they haven't done anything with them.
Hey, you guys get the plywood and screws, I got the drill, I'll put the boards up myself. Cause then I'll know they'll go up, and then I got, listen, the neighbors up there are ours, and they
Really
call.
long screw.
Listen, they call this telephone right here, it's in this pocket, they call this phone here, they say, hey, yuck, this one here, this one's there. Then I go up and see what's up, then I call Jim, and I get Jim and everybody involved, like Monterey, and we go investigate.
Well,
I got all them guys' numbers loaded in my phone status.
well, thank you for
Jacob.
keeping your block in line
Yeah.
with that. But we'll get on the boards right away.
That sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, yeah.
Anyone else?
Well, Matt, this is directed towards you a little bit, but Yucca brought up one good aspect, that we need to focus on practical problems with practical solutions. This thing about going into this proactive civil rights situation, you said we got social unrest and tensions? There's no social unrest and tensions. What we got in this city is poverty. Okay,
Yeah.
and poverty breeds all the problems in a community.
Correct.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you 5 questions. 1, have you done anything to address the coke plant that was sold? To jump in there, you want to be proactive? Try getting that tax base increased.
John is working on that.
Well, the whole council, the mayor should be also a leader in this. You can't throw everything on John's shoulders. Now, what about the other thing? We have a situation where you guys have dropped the ball. And I don't know what Orkowski is doing. He should help us because he was the one who put us into this, that old city hall building. How come no one's trying to get that building back? They have broken their what do you call it, financial obligations. They have used all kind of gimmicks. And the number one thing that they broke was the real estate law. You cannot give somebody a clear title when they didn't pay for it. And it was based on a promise. So what are you doing there, proactive, to get that back? Because this is the situation that Monessen's. We got no racial problems. I know a lot of people here. This town is very down. It's very subdued. Everyone has one problem, the economy. That's what they're all suffering about. And number 3, did you try getting, instead of playing around with these other left-wing organizations, do you try talking to business people to see if we could bring some industry into Monessen?
Yes,
What, you haven't
John
brought
and
it
I
up?
had a meeting with Congressman Reschenthaler's office a couple weeks ago.
Okay,
about
you turn it
getting
on
funding for-
John again, you're supposed to be the
Both
mayor.
of us met with Reschenthaler's office about trying to find funding for infrastructure through the federal government. And we also had a call with Google to talk about how Google could invest in Monessen.
Okay, talks are cheap, okay?
Well,
I did this, I
that's
did
where it
that.
starts.
Okay, you went on a limb and spent money on a website, you said it's done. It's like building a car, but there's no
We are
transmission.
waiting for PA to
You're waiting for John to come through with the Pennsylvania connection to get it up and running. So, as far as I'm concerned, you are a poor leader because you're not doing anything practical that will save money as well as create an atmosphere for people, especially businesses, to move in
Well-
and try to give some life to this community.
going to you about businesses. How would anyone know about Monessen if we don't have a website, we
Well,
don't
we don't have it
information?
yet.
You are correct.
Okay.
We are waiting on PA
Yeah,
Connect
last month you
to
said it was gonna
switch
be
the
done
domain.
Friday. And I knew it wasn't gonna be done Friday
It is
because
finally done, but they have to transfer the data
you're
to the
not
domain.
practical and you don't have any feeling on what makes a community work. You haven't, you just go into these idealistic left-wing think tanks that ain't gonna address anything.
I agree with
What
you
needs,
that
what
we
Monessen
need-
needs.
We need jobs, and we need to attract
You're
jobs.
not spending time, you're spending all the time socializing with left-wing people.
I
That's all
have
you're
been
doing.
reaching out to companies,
Yeah,
trying
well,
to.
which ones? Give me one or two companies you reach
I
out.
have reached out
Yeah, to
to
whom?
Google for one.
That Google, like they were supposed to bring 20,000 jobs to Pittsburgh and they
That was them.
went like that. Google too was a contender with something else and they bypassed this area.
The
The thing is, you cannot count on global companies that come into Monessen to bail us out. You gotta start with people in the region that has an interest, just like Jacka says, I love this town. Google doesn't go on air and say, I love Monessen. So what are you gonna expect from
Well,
them?
we also have people rehabilitating buildings, like we were talking about.
That's not industry. That's not industry. We're talking about making this community to get back on its feet. You gotta push in that direction. You haven't done that direction.
Small business would also do that.
Well, which small business?
That's what I'm saying, we have to get people to invest in small business.
No,
When you have a city-
Listen,
when-
well, what you're asking is for people to pay a franchise, open up a coffee
no.
shop, or maybe an Arby's or something. That's
No,
what small business.
that's,
I'm talking about
that's one.
industry established,
that's one
and they
part of
want to
small
expand, they want to expand their growth or market into Monessen.
Also,
You never looked at that, and you
Also-
never will, because you don't have the capacity to do it.
also when you have property owners that are nowhere to be found.
Yeah, and I have one other advice.
Well, Ernie, wait, but maybe since, I'm just trying, since you got some ideas, you know how we're getting all these groups together to do that, why not get a group together that reaches out to those small?
Because I have a feeling that there's a few board members that don't respect me because there's another element.
But you got some good ideas, Ernie, so
I-
I think
I
if
know I
you
do.
got, right, so if you got like 3 or 4 other people that have some organization, hey, maybe we can attract them here. We give, and we say, okay, as long as you touch base with them, say, hey, we're reaching out to them, that might be something to work on.
2 years ago, I asked Wachowski's counsel at that time, it was a different regime. I said, I talked to Delfonso Jr. I said, give me a letter and I'll go and I'll raise the 8 businesses that are on the riverbank to pay more in their property school tax. No, we can't do that. Can't do that. So what I'm trying to tell you is, for some reason, I don't know if they belong in the same secret societies or what. Nobody wants to touch and undo what they've done in the past. Nobody touches it. But we'll go ahead and talk about more nonsense, left-wing ideology, how we're going to strap everybody in a straitjacket with more and more conditions to live. That doesn't make sense to me. Okay?
Get some names, Ernie. Get some names of some companies that you think might take interest in us. And if you can get us some
Hey,
names,
He's getting
We'll go.
paid for it.
I know, but I mean, every
But
bit
if-
helps,
yeah,
Ernie.
if
So
you
if you
have
got some
ideas-
good names for us, throw those names here. We'll make some calls. I mean, everybody doesn't know everything. So if you got some names that you think we might be able to draw here, give us those names and, we'll go for it. It doesn't hurt to ask. All you can do is say no.
Yeah. But who do I address?
If you get some
I
names.
don't be burdening John all the time.
No, I mean, if you get some
Everybody's
names,
on his
come
show.
come to me and Matt, get some names and hey, we'll make some calls.
And also, we talked about this, I think, 2 meetings ago, about how it would be helpful if we had a functioning Chamber of Commerce. So if that's something that you would like to help us try to solve.
Yeah, but at the same time, I don't do spending the wheels on the thing that you want to create, another bureaucracy.
Well, no,
And
I
there's
mean,
going to be cost
a
involved.
chamber
Just like Tim
already-
brought up, he brought up some important points. He brought up that if there's litigation or there's other situations, you got to spend money.
Yeah.
And you don't have a budget. How could you go into a plan without having a budget?
Well, we talked about that, about adjusting and taking that process out.
All I know is you better be down to earth, and the earth is Monessen, not what's going on in Pittsburgh or York, PA. Monessen. You're supposed to represent the constituents here, not across the country or the globalists.
Well,
Okay?
that's why I've had residents reach out about this human relations ordinance.
You should be spending your time, how you gonna improve Monessen? That doesn't do anything. That's just nothing but butterfly, good feelings.
Outdated ordinances from the 1960s are one portion. And
What?
you can also attract new residents
You're
and
not gonna
businesses.
attract anybody through ideology
You
in a
can
nice
attract-
setting,
you can
okay?
attract
If you tell
businesses.
people, we got a nice cozy setting, nobody gets mad at anybody. Nobody's gonna
I
move
mean,
into
that's
this
not gonna
town.
happen.
Well, you can't legislate it, all
No,
that.
it's also difficult to attract people with the amount of negativity here in general in the city. So that's not helping us either.
The only negativity is the political camps that people end up gravitating. That's the only negativity. But everybody here wants to make Monessen move ahead.
I agree, and I have a brief story that I've told everyone. So a couple of years ago, I was at a conference, and some guy was saying, this was before I ran, and they were talking about business development and that sort of thing. And I asked the question, I didn't say where I was from, and I said, how do you, in 2015, 2016, how do you attract modern day businesses when you still have an active coke plant 50 feet away from your downtown district?
They
And,
ain't
well,
stopping businesses from
no,
coming
no,
in
no.
because there's a coke plant there.
That's-
What are you talking about?
No.
You know how many businesses were
I-
here when that plant was going on, the steel mill?
If
There
I
was
may-
over 150 businesses
If
here.
I may
And they didn't
finish.
say that the steel mill pollution is affecting my,
That's not the point of the story. So the guy looked at me and he said, "You're from Monessen, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "Let me tell you something about Monessen." And when people say that, automatically I'm like, okay, what are you going to say? And he said, Monessen people for the last 30 years have been fighting and arguing with each other about the city, but that city is resilient because everyone is arguing with each other because they actually care about making the city better, because they're, like, you can see it from the outside about how we fight with each other, and it's because we all care about the city. And that's one thing that stuck with me when that guy said that. And I don't know his name, I don't even remember where he was from, but that stuck with me. So that touches on basically what you were saying there at the end.
well, all I can say is I hope we focus on practical situations, and because we only got very limited resources. So you
And,
can't be going all over the board
and,
just so you could feel good.
and to
Okay.
echo what Lois said, if you do have businesses that you think might be interested, let us know.
Just one more thing. Orkowski, how come you didn't speak up at all?
Is he still on?
You should
Yeah.
be. Yeah. I mean, it was his regime that took the city hall off of us with grand promises.
No, that was.
That was my break.
administration.
Yeah, well,
And we-
Tony, are you there?
I'm still here.
Okay.
And we have
Just make sure you can hear.
council and the solicitor have discussed Eastgate aids. And the solicitor was researching what our options
Okay,
are.
I just want you guys to focus on trying to get back what we lost, at the same time bringing businesses or industry in here. And don't be talking about little guys trying to open up a coffee shop, because it ain't gonna work. Thank you for listening to me tonight.
I just want to give a brief update, but I kind of want to comment to that because, first of all,
Sorry.
Carissa Vargas, no one's going to come to Monessen with all this negativity. We don't make the news, we don't make the paper for too many positive things. So we have to do things positive. We need to stop being part of the problem. We need to stop coming to these meetings and everywhere else and talking crap and arguing. Do something. Don't be part of the problem, be part of the solution. We have to clean up the trash, take that how you want it. And yeah, I disagree that it's council's job because I grew up with this theory of Greyhound pride, and I really want the community to start standing up. Please stop complaining about things and start doing things. Please help. I have businesses that I want to start. COVID's not the time. I've been talking to Matt about something that I really want to do in Monessen. Unfortunately, it's going to take me a long time to get that going. And it's something that would benefit the city. So speaking of being part of the solution, I do know that we need prison watchers. I also did apply, but there's a second application that I do have to go get that, and I will have it by next week's council meeting. Just to do a brief update on the TNR, we have 3 dates. 2 of them are through Fix and Wagon. That is first. So they have a cap, unfortunately, of 30. So I'm starting to communicate with people and find out where the caps are, kind of figure out where we need to focus our efforts. I did speak to someone from Shawnee today, and I'm going to go up there this weekend. We have a TNR class that Homeless Cat Management Team, Amanda, that spoke at the meeting, she will hold on November 14th. I did want to ask council, it's a Saturday, if we could have it here.
I have no problem. What was the date again?
Saturday, November 14th. I believe the time is 2 p.m., but I can double check and get back to you.
Okay.
I came straight from work, so it's in my planner.
Does anyone have an issue with that?
And this meeting is open to the public. This is for anyone who wants to get involved, anyone that wants to help, anyone who wants to care for the feral cats after. I have had some people reach out, willing to volunteer that day, willing to give me some information on the cats around them. Unfortunately, I've also had some people reach out because they're concerned about my efforts not being humane. And I just really want to stress that to the community and to everyone. This is extremely humane. We are not, by any means, euthanizing these animals. I am very anti, as a matter of fact. We will put a top priority, again, to reiterate, on any cat that is friendly. Kittens are going to go into rescues. That's why I picked Homeless Cat Management Team. They work with about 50 rescues. Cats that seem like they could possibly be socialized and rehomed, that's going to be a priority also. Some are going to be extremely feral. We're going to have feral adults that just need release. That's okay. We have blighted properties in Monessen. So as long as someone's willing to care for these cats for 10 years and feed them, it's not going to be a problem. We're not going to have as many. We're not going to keep breeding. There has been some people who also reached out about they're looking for a cat to be a hunter, like an outdoor cat. And there's actually a program. And at this class on November 14th, we can get you signed up for that. We can talk about that. Typically, those cats are cats from TNR projects. They worked on socializing them. They can't be house cats. So there's actually like a farm, like a barn area that these cats are at. And then we can, they can become someone's outdoor pet cat. I need volunteers for the day. Our first date is November 30th. I talked to Ed Lee and got permission to use the Civic Center since it is during the week, and he sent me some days that there's things going on, so we'll work around that. Our second date is December 29th. Those are both Fix and Wagon, and the cap on that is 30, and we're working with them to kind of figure that out. I'll need volunteers for that day. I'll need door knockers for 2 weeks before to go around and kind of educate the community. This is what we're doing. This is the date. Stop feeding them. And we really need to like let people know, please do not bother the trappers. Amanda has stressed that there's been times where they're doing a TNR and people will go up to the people and talk to them, and a cat is sniffing a trap. And it's so very important that you do not talk to the cats, the traps, like the trappers, like no one.
So you'll need door knockers relatively soon, since November 30th is.
Yeah,
a
I
few
keep
weeks
posting
away.
on Facebook. I'm hoping also by people seeing the meeting, and I'll be in contact with you as well for the paper. I'm gonna start just not bothering.
And if you could make a
Can I
flyer
say
or
something
something.
about the town?
Yeah, uh-huh.
Listen, up there where I live on Knox and Ross Shaver, here's this lady, Lois. She's a teacher in Charlotte, okay?
Well, I know,
She comes like 3:30, 4 in the morning in a Jeep.
she used to do
Yeah.
it on Read all the time
And
too.
she
And
feeds them
needs
all over.
food.
Well, feeding them isn't the problem, but what we're gonna do is we'll work on trapping them, getting them fixed, getting them, they'll get flea treatment, they'll get their vaccines,
She
that
took a
kind
couple
of
of
thing.
them to the veterans, had them fixed and whatever, but she couldn't catch no more because there's too many of them up there.
Right, so, and that's also something I need from the community. I need to know where these cats are. I need to know what these cats look like.
They're all over the place.
Right, but like, I need to know like,
Yeah.
okay, for instance, okay, on Somerset Street, there is a black melt, there is a tabby melt, there is an orange bed. I need like that. Any detail helps. It doesn't, if you know if they're female or male, but it helps to know what they look like,
Yeah.
how many there are, because unneutered spayed cats will travel a couple blocks. So I'm gonna have multiple people reporting the same cat, so we can kind of get that idea together. And then two, that lets us know where to place our priorities on catching the cats. Now, one thing I wanted to talk about, I really want to start getting fundraising efforts.
I was just gonna ask, did you make a GoFundMe page?
No, so I want to talk to you about that because I think that all the finances for this should go through the city.
Yeah.
I would really rather, just because I don't want accused of anything, and in the world that we live in today, that's gonna happen. So I would rather all financial donations be made straight to the city, and if the city can create a GoFundMe that people can donate to, and then as soon as I have this information, I'm gonna create a flyer, that's what we're gonna door knock with. Every resident in Monessen hopefully will either answer the door or end up with one of these flyers with all of the information, including the fact that they can make monetary donations and other donations. Now, as far as like, other than monetary donations, I do want to do some fundraising efforts. I am trying to find a vet. If anyone suggests anyone, knows anyone sees the meeting and is willing, if we can do, I think we should do a rabies vaccination clinic here in Monessen. And on that day, and if I could do it before November 30th, that would be wonderful, because then the money we raise from that could go toward this project. But also that's taking care of people's actual pets, because I'm kind of concerned that we're going to start catching people's pets. And, you know, I'll get to that, but, so if we could do that, and then we could do a Chinese auction the same day as this, and just raise all kinds of money that day, hopefully they can go toward this effort. But I wanna, any fundraising efforts that we can do, I wanna just keep it going, because in the meantime, from November 30th to December 29th, I don't wanna discourage anyone from catching cats. The more that we can get, the better. If we can just keep catching them, and taking them to, like, I know Frankie's has a drop-off, so if we have funds set aside for these feral cats, we can just continue our efforts.
Is creating a GoFundMe something that the city can do, or would you recommend she just create one and have it directly go to the city? Because I think you can do that too.
I'd have to think about the logistics of the city creating a GoFundMe page, because then as city funds, there's some additional procedures that have to be in place. If it's possible for you to create the page, but then designate the city as the recipient.
Okay, so I have to, like, how do I do that? Because doesn't the money automatically go into the bank account?
It does, so it accumulates, and then my understanding is it accumulates with GoFundMe, and then after it, is over, whatever the time period is, then GoFundMe will distribute it out to the recipient organization. But you can identify the recipient organization as the city, and it can then go directly to the city's funds, and then at that point, the city's rules regarding funds and restricted donations and things would go into effect at that point.
Okay.
Like I said, I would have to think about if the city was going to actually create the GoFundMe page. Legally, that might create a few complications that I'd have to think through, which could
Okay,
delay a
I
little
can just
bit.
create it and designate
Yeah,
the city,
if
that's
you
no
designate
problem.
the city, that's fine.
Okay.
I think it accomplishes the same thing. You wouldn't be touching any of the funds at that point, so nobody
Perfect.
can accuse you of any sort of mismanagement, so you're protected too at that point. The
Perfect.
public should be aware of that.
Perfect, thank you. And then that's what I want to encourage the residents, because I have had a few people contact me about making monetary donations. And I would really encourage anyone, if possible, to come down here. I know we had talked about it at the actual council meeting, just right for like the subject, TNR, or anything along those lines, cat project, whatever. But if all monetary donations can go directly to the city, other donations, we can take, obviously, if anyone's getting rid of blankets, towels, anything like that, them are things we'll need for the cats, for the trapping, to cover the traps, in the traps, potty pads. They can obviously drop it off on my porch, or if it's okay for them to drop off stuff here, and I could just communicate with you guys, I can store it if need be. We don't have the space here, but at least so everyone's kind of using the city to make the donations. Cat food, obviously we'll need, and then, I mean, any excess over that, we're gonna have people that are stuck feeding these cats, so that'll just help them tremendously. All the money beyond, like I said, I would just like to keep it going, so then we could just keep getting cats fixed, outside of just the dates that we have scheduled. Yeah, like I said, so I need volunteers 2 weeks before, and ideally the week of, just as a reminder. Anyone who wants to donate, like I know I said about bothering the trappers, so sometimes people are like, oh, can I get you something to drink or something to eat? So anyone who wants to donate food, snacks, beverages, they can do that to the Civic Center, or if possible, even here with the cat donations. Obviously, all of that helps. It'll be a very long weekend every time we hold one of these for the trappers, so we welcome anything like that as well. But please do it dropping it off here. If you're donating it during the actual trapping, drop it off at the Civic Center. Please do not bother the trappers. They could be watching a cat who's about to want a donation. Ideally, by April, all animals will be fixed, if I have it my way. And again, Monessen residents, please be responsible. Keep up to date on vaccinations. Keep your pets inside. Spay and neuter all animals. If you are against it, please look up the health problems for not doing it and the behavioral issues directly linked to not fixing your animal. If any cat is an outdoor pet cat, it is your responsibility as a resident to ensure that they are fixed. We may catch pets, and if you didn't spay or neuter your outdoor cat, I'm sorry, you're part of the problem. They're getting fixed. They're getting their ear chipped. I think you guys can probably agree with me on that. I mean, yeah, obviously we'll be checking for microchips, but if they're not microchipped, that is our procedure. If they're friendly, again, they will be getting put into rescues. This is a very humane option. So just asking Monessen, please do your part. Help us save the animals. They have no voice, so we must be their voice.
Thank you. Thanks for helping do this.
Thank you.
Does anyone have anything else?
Okay, so you got an article in the paper soon?
Yeah, so she does have one
Okay,
article
right,
in there
that's
already.
Yeah, okay. Because you're
and then-
asking your town that they can put blankets and towels, so all that needs to be in there.
Okay.
Because if they don't watch this, they're not gonna know.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
might want to send something to the Mon Valley Messenger too for the December one, just
Okay,
so like
perfect.
more people in the broader area see it too. Because between like the Valley and the Messenger, like you'll probably get a decent amount of people. Maybe you'll pick some people up that don't watch our meeting, don't read the paper.
Okay,
So,
perfect.
and
And
then
like,
the
again,
social
like I
media.
said, this is a very humane option, so if anyone is coming to anyone, if you could seriously spread the word. This is humane, this is nice. I don't know what happened in the past, I can't comment to that, I have no clue. But no one is in trouble for feeding these cats. So please don't hide that you're feeding them, please don't hide the cats, please let me know. This is for their health, this is for their safety. Someone called me today about a cat up in Shawnee, she's had 5 litters so far. If she's 1 and she's had 5 litters outside, can you imagine the health this poor girl is in? So, and that's why I said I want to, beyond our dates, I just want to keep trapping. If I can catch her, I'm getting her fixed this week.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Apple was saying that something about the were talking about the pawn shop and the,
Mhm.
my buddy, still interested in the pawn shop. He wants to redo the upstairs to live there and put a business in the downstairs. I'm almost done with 43 Schoonermaker, got the siding and roof, and then I wanted to move right to, or see what we can do about Annie's Apparel Shop, get that gutted, bring it, redo the front brick, see if we can bring another business in town.
Yeah.
So, that's,
These are the two properties that are on the agenda that we were talking about, item J and K, so.
that's all.
Yeah.
So whatever
Just-
help we can get or whatever we can do to move forward, I'm all for it, so.
And you've done beautiful work, because I know I've told you before, but publicly I'm saying it, they're beautiful. So the more people that do that will be in good shape.
I plan on doing the same thing with Annie's and then my buddy with pawn shop, we'll just keep moving on.
And those will be 2 less vacant buildings.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you.
And I did forget to mention the one thing, speaking of that, so if I can find a building in Monessen that I can get relatively cheap, I would like to turn that into a kennel to house so that we no longer have to use Hoffman's. I would really like to get rid of Hoffman's. I know Patty Vince is not interested in our contract. I did speak to him. I still have to speak to Sam Vargo. Patty let me know there's not very many options, but it's $25 and then some insurance fee for anyone to be a dog catcher. So I'm gonna speak with Sam, see what we can do there. But if we can have a building that houses them for the 72-hour hold, we don't need anything.
I think I mentioned to you before, and some people on council might not know this, the tax office sent me a list of properties that are 3 or more years delinquent in taxes that are unsold. There are 817 of them in the city. Some of those properties have people living in them that have not paid their taxes, but that's another conversation. But a lot of them are vacant properties that basically, like, anyone could, it's public information, anyone could get that list.
Perfect.
And if there are properties that you feel that are worth rehabbing, you could basically, if they were unsold, like, go and talk to the county and see about acquiring them.
Perfect.
Some of them are really in really bad shape and have a ridiculous number of taxes on them, but some of them aren't too terrible, so.
Right. I mean, for a shelter for housing animals, who's stray animals in Monessen, I mean, if we could have it before cats, that would be great, but obviously it's not gonna happen, at least for the November and December date, but I mean, we'll completely be gutting it anyway, so basically I need a fenced-in yard somewhere I can put kennels
Yeah.
in.
And that not only goes to you, but that goes to anyone out there looking for property that's going to actually rehab it and do something with it and put it back on the tax rolls. So the total number of taxes owed to the city, county, and schools is like $5 million. So there's a lot out there.
Hey, Lois, question. What are they gonna do with South Rocket's building?
With what?
The South Rocket's
The
bar building?
Slovak home.
Yeah, next to Josh's place.
So Slovak Home, we just saw someone was trying to sell it on Facebook, which looked really shady. I don't know who owns it, but it's privately owned and someone was
No,
trying
some
to
lady
sell
from
it.
somebody from California owns it.
Where's that?
No, it's sold
What are they talking about?
South Rocket's
up
bar.
from Anna Marie's.
Okay.
A
We're all
couple
Slovak,
of
so we
Before you
big
get
Slovak
there.
home
Okay, you
building,
have
yeah.
the thing up.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so someone was trying to sell it on Facebook, and the ad
That's
was
next to his
really
building.
shady. I think I sent it to you. It was like, we'll take automobile for payment or something. It was really shady. So we're gonna have to keep an eye on that, but I mean, it's privately owned. So, and I'm pretty sure Todd did send them a citation for the stuff falling off of the front of it. I don't know, there were pictures of the inside. The inside has a bunch of junk in it, but it looks decent. It's not collapsing or anything. But that's, I think I said earlier, that's one of the only vacant buildings left on that block.
Hey, Lois, another question. That empty lot next to him where he got his tattoo building,
Where he has his what building?
where he got his tattoo
Okay.
place?
Between Vonda's, there's an empty
Vaughn,
lot.
that empty lot, he wants to know about that.
Yeah, I already cut the grass.
He cuts the grass on it.
And see. I'll have to look and see.
Yeah, we don't know if it's, is it the city?
No.
They knocked that building down, and when they knocked it down, they hit my building before I redid it, and then I redid all that, you know.
We can check it. If it's,
Yeah, we'll find out.
if it's up for sale or whatever.
Or even if it's up for taxes. I
Right,
don't
you
think
can
that
buy-
one
yeah,
is,
it wouldn't
but-
cost too much if it's up for tax.
No. Right, anything else?
Another question. How about the pizza shop across the street? What are they gonna do with that place? How they got to it?
Well,
There's doors in that building.
I just saw that it collapsed
It's been
inside.
collapsed.
Well, the door like
The
blew
door's
off
off,
of it.
yeah.
No, the door's been off, but
Has
it's
it?
laying against the building. It's been off.
I just noticed it the other day. so-
Yeah, it's been off.
Yeah.
Last week.
Yeah, we definitely, and it's sold recently too.
But you own that building? DJ Arnold owned that building.
Right,
He's in
and
jail.
he
Who
doesn't.
sold it?
Yeah, it's some LLC owns it.
Oh, really?
It's very strange, and I'm skeptical. All right, motion to adjourn at 20 to 20 to. Oh, actually yes, and we will be going into executive session for real estate. Yeah, and